significance of the Ubuntu Awards?
Thank you very much, Tabile, and a very good evening to the viewers. This is a very important occasion for South Africans, those South Africans who have really distinguished themselves, who have really done well for the country. You'd remember these awards are annual awards, started last year to recognize really the excellence of South Africans, the innovation, the creativity, and those people among us who make sure that they put the name of South Africa on the international map in a very, very positive light. There's been several individuals that have won this awards. For example, last year, the former ambassador of the chief of state protocol, Billy Modise, was one of those who won, and Charles Leclerc is among of those. You can imagine those are the people who have really contributed. Mayor Ruth Mumpati, one of our struggle veterans, the late Mayor Ruth Mumpati. So those are the people who have received these awards because of their outstanding contribution to the country. But to tell us more, Tabile, about these awards, we are joined by the head of public diplomacy at the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, Mwandile Mbeje. Welcome, Clayson.
Good evening.
These awards really recognize the best among us and encourage those who want to do good to do that.
We are celebrating excellence in diplomacy. We are celebrating South Africans who in their own right, as individuals or institutions and companies, are flying the South African flag high on a global stage. You are correct in saying that these awards are annual. They were introduced last year, and some of the winners you've already referred to, including people like Brahotstix Mabuse, Yvonne Chaka Chaka, companies like Nando's, which is a global brand right now. I mean, when you walk into a Nando's shop in Washington, D.C. in the United States of America, you walk into South Africa, they play South African music, you feel at home. So those are the people that we are celebrating tonight here. And today, once again, the President of the Republic, President Jacob Zuma, supported by Minister Maite Mashabane, will have an opportunity to recognize more South Africans that are flying the South African flag high on a global stage in various fields, in sports, in cultural diplomacy. Some of them are South African companies that are active on the African continent and in other regions of the world.
I see the ambassadors and the high commissioners accredited to be here in South Africa are here in full force. Is that the positive message you want to send or to sell the country to international community?
South Africa is a big global player, respected internationally. The stature of this country is such that we host the second biggest diplomatic community in the world, only second to Washington, D.C. And all these ambassadors and high commissioners are here to celebrate with us, to recognize South Africans who, by the way, most of them, particularly the South African companies, are investing in these ambassadors and high commissioners' economies and countries, creating jobs, empowering people, paying taxes. So, I mean, the High Commissioner of Nigeria has to be here because in Nigeria you've got MTN, you've got Standard Bank, you've got ShopRite and Checkers. The ambassador of the DRC, who also happens to be the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, has to be here because in the DRC you've got Vodacom and other companies that are active. So this evening is about recognizing such companies, individuals playing in several fields but flying the South African flag high on a global stage.
What does this do, given that time and again there are so many negative stories about the country, and sometimes people start to lose hope, given that you have an event of this nature? Is it a way of trying to change the perceptions?
No, look, I think if South Africans were to pay attention, they would realize that as South Africa, we are a giving nation. We are a caring nation. For example, last year, one of the organizations that were recognized is the Gift of the Givers. Now, globally, when you say gift of the givers, people are reduced to tears because wherever there is a disaster, there is a crisis, Gift of the Givers is one of the organizations that respond first. This year, one of the organizations we are going to recognize, for example, has been to countries like Japan, responding to natural disasters. This is who we are as South Africans. The companies that we recognize, for example, I've already referred to the fact that where they are active, they pay taxes, they create jobs. These are South African companies. South Africa is one of the biggest investors on the African continent. There isn't a single country that you can mention on the African continent where you don't find a South African company active. This is who we are, and these are the people that we need to recognize. There is no doubt that we've got challenges in this country, but there's also no doubt that South Africa is a big global player, influential. Our voice is always sought on any issue. In fact, many of the conflicts in the world, when there's a conflict, they look for South Africa to come and intervene and mediate and bring peace and maintain that peace. Right now in the Burundi, they're calling on South Africa's intervention. In Sri Lanka and South Sudan, this is who we are.
Thank you very much, Clayson. There you have it, Clayson Munyela, the head of public diplomacy, really talking to us about the role of South African companies internationally, the role of South Africans who are doing so well abroad, all in an effort to make sure that this country can do so much more. It's back to you, Tabile, in the studio.
Thank you, Mwandile.